Go ahead. Yeah, please go.
Can everybody hear us?
Yep.
And are we able to share, do we have permission to share our screen, please? In the meantime, good morning, Council. Good morning, Mayor. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to...
Hi, we're just going to open up the meeting. Just bear with us 1 second, okay?
All right.
Good morning, everyone. I will call this special council meeting to order at 9 a.m. With that, I will ask Tracy to do roll call.
Mayor Lally.
Here.
Councillor Collins.
Here.
Councillor Florence.
Here.
Councillor Kuyak. Here. Councillor Pija.
Here.
Councillor Rodnick. You know you're there. Councillor
Here.
Rodnick. There you go.
Here.
Councillor
Here. Okay, thank you. With that, I will do the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are gathered on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, specifically the Madawaskini, the people of the Madawaska River. We further acknowledge that the Algonquin people have been stewards of this land since time immemorial, and we strive to treat the land along with the flora and fauna it supports, the people, their customs and traditions with honor and respect. Today, this area is home to people of all walks of life, and we acknowledge the shared opportunities and responsibilities to live, work, and survive within this beautiful territory. She miigwech all my relations. With that, I'll ask for a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda.
I'll make the motion to adopt the agenda.
Moved by Council Florence, seconded by Council Pija.
The Council for the Corporation of the Township of South Algonquin adopts the agenda as circulated for the special council meeting of January 26, 2024.
It's been duly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Is there anyone who would like to declare disclosure of pecuniary interest this morning? Hearing or seeing none. I would ask for a resolution to designate Tracy as our deputy clerk this morning on one of our municipal procedures.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councillor Kuyak, second to side off. Oh, sorry.
I'll second it, Councillor Collins.
The Council for the Corporation of the Township of South Algonquin appoints Tracy Cannon as deputy clerk under section 228(2) of the Municipal Act for the purpose of this meeting.
Any discussion? See none, all in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Okay, so at this point in time, I will ask if it's Himanshu Sudan and Laura Coombs of eCamion Incorporated Jewel to do a presentation of eCharge on no-cost hosting program. And I just want to acknowledge Councillor Pija for having done the legwork and arranging for the special council meeting of this morning. So with that, welcome to the township, and I'll move, if you could move on with your presentation at this time.
Thank you, Your Lordship. Thank you, members of the council. If I have the ability to share my screen.
You should have, yeah, I've given you co-host.
Thank you, ma'am. If everybody could, is everybody able to share this, see the screen that I'm sharing?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Again, thanks very much for this opportunity and for this special meeting and the invitation here. What we wanted to talk to you about our request to the Township of South Algonquin to place level 3 charging stations at no cost to the township at some of the locations that have been identified with the staff members and other members of the community. This is a program where the Government of Ontario has announced that it would provide almost 50% compensation for placing a fast charger in parts of Ontario that have population of less than about 175,000 or thereabouts. I think it's 170 or 175,000. So less density populated areas of Ontario. We have an ability to install these charging stations. And right now, what we are seeking is access to a non-binding MOU. I think the package is attached herein, wherein we can apply to the province to put these charging stations in these particular locations. When these locations are accepted by the province, we will then be able to get into a more definitive agreement exactly the location to be placed, and any other requirements that the council or the mayor would have or the staff would have with regards to details of the terms and conditions of installing this. But overall, our plan is to install these charging stations wherever accepted and to provide the township of South Algonquin a parking fees or a fees for $100 for a spot, and this would be at basically no cost to the township. The purpose of choosing the township of South Algonquin is because of its very strategic location as associated for travelers that go to the Algonquin Park or between travel through the Highway 60 corridor. And so we think that the citizens of Ontario would benefit for having the EV charging being placed at these strategic locations in order to reduce range anxiety, because it's an area that doesn't have a lot of EV charging that would happen. And I think this would be a good place to have these chargers located. So just giving a little bit of a background, we come from eCamion Inc. is the legal entity, and Joule is the brand under which we operate. So our front-facing brand is Joule. But we're basically out of Toronto. All our manufacturing is done in Toronto. All our staffing is in Toronto. We do have some staff in the US as well, but our headquarters is in Toronto. We do all our manufacturing here. And we have charging stations across North America, all the way from Florida to Alaska. In Florida, we're in hurricane evacuation routes, and in Alaska, we're charging sanitation trucks, and we do bus charging, EV charging, and energy management. And I'll take maybe another 5 minutes to just briefly explain what exactly is it that our technology does and why we think it's such a good fit for the township. But overall, we've got really good strategic relationships with, the Sobeys Group, the Longos, the Metro, the Loblaws, a lot of, Ford dealerships, and a lot of hospitality sector. And some of these numbers are outdated. Our range delivered is now over 1 million, and a lot of megawatts of energy has been delivered by us. And we're very closely partnered with the National Electric Vehicle Initiative out of US federal government, as well as the Canadian federal government initiatives of NRCan. This slide just talks a little bit that we've been around for quite a while. We started out in putting up our energy storage systems into the grid, all the way back in 2010, 2011. And then over a period of time, we've been progressing and basically installing our stations, as I mentioned, across North America. I'll get into a bit more detail. But here is a video that we wanted to share with you. It kind of is a short video, but it would provide a little bit more insight into something unique that we do as opposed to some of the others. So if I could just play the video, please let me know if the sound is coming through.
With the uptake of electric vehicle purchases in North America, there is a growing demand for reliable EV fast charging. EV fast chargers require significant amounts of power that is often not available from the grid. Therefore, upgrades to electrical infrastructure are required, which can cost up to $900,000 and add an additional 18 months to your deployment time. Once stations are deployed, on average, fast chargers still account for 74% of a facility's monthly utility bill because of the power they generate. Joule's battery energy storage system is designed to bypass utility upgrades and lower operational costs. It acts as a buffer, slowly storing energy from the grid and discharging it as power to your fast chargers. As a result, up to 600 kilowatts of power can be generated from as little as 50 kilowatts of input from the grid, all while lowering your monthly utility bill. Favorable financing options exist in North America that can cover up to 90% of deployment costs in certain states, or up to $5 million per project in Canada.
So, just to give you an idea of what is it that we do, if you plug in an electric EV fast charger, a fast charger basically charges your car within 15 minutes. If you were 15 to 20 minutes, or maybe a little bit higher, depending on the size of your battery. But basically, when you do that, you're almost putting on the grid a impact of over 100 houses. The grid just doesn't have the capacity to do that. So in order for us to manage it, we've kind of created this hub that basically trickle charges the battery and then is able to provide power as needed into the cars. So if you can still see my screen, this is a live example of a store in Bayview Village, in Loblaw store. So this is a Loblaw store, which is, we're drawing about 2 kW of power. And as you can see, we're connected to 4 charging stations and we're giving 92 kilowatts of power out into this particular. This is a live example. There's a car charging here at over 90 kilowatts. And you can see we're only drawing 2 kilowatts from the facility and able to give a lot of power out. What does that mean? It means you do not have to make any great upgrades to the grid. All along the Highway 60 corridor, there is not a lot of power that is available. In most of the township, there is not a lot of power that is available. So what we are able to do is take whatever amount of power is there, store it in our battery, almost like a water tank, and then that is connected to the taps as needed. If required, we can provide power back into the facility, into the grid, or in case there is a backup power or resiliency needed, we can provide that backup power as well. And so overall, we manage, these various charging stations that we have. I'm just kind of trying to get into a live look at one of the stations that we have in Oakville. So you can see we are able to look at how many people charged over the last 7 days, how many people charged over the last 30 days. On a daily basis, there was January 15 seemed to be a very busy time in Oakville where there was a lot of charging that happened. But you can see, this particular station is earning about $2,300 in revenue. The average cost of filling up for them was about $10 per session. And this is the kind of similar systems are what we are looking to install with the township as well. So overall, we don't take power directly from the grid because there's just not enough power. We take whatever is spare capacity in the facility and use that to charge. So with that, I'll turn it over to the honorable members of the council to ask any questions that they feel they would like to ask about this.
Okay, any members of council?
I have one. How many square feet do you require to put this battery setup and the charging stations and the area to park the vehicles while they're being charged?
So the battery itself would be council something like a 10 feet by 10 feet kind of an area. So I think that would be like your that would be a typical real estate that we would take. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen again to just show you in Canada, which is probably a little bit closer to you, where we've kind of installed these stations. So you can see this would be a parking lot. It's basically the station is just sitting on the curb. Your car is kind of comes in and parks over there and basically charges. So it takes a minimal amount of real estate, so to say, at the parking station. The parking station is more or less just to park the cars. This is a big battery that is at the Loblaw station. It would probably be half the size of this. This would be the portion, about 10 feet by 10 feet is the size of the battery station. So that would give you a bit of an idea. This is how the parking lot kind of looks like. This is how the stations, this is still under construction picture, but this would how the stations would look like.
So the battery pack is not in the same location as the charging stations?
No, it doesn't need to be in the same location as the charging station. It can, when you drive up, you don't really see the battery. The battery is a little bit further away, out of sight. In this particular case, it's a little bit on the side you can see. And this is a lot more construction being done. This is not how this was a special thing that we were going in the case of Loblaws, but in most cases, it doesn't require this amount of construction to be done. I think in this particular case, it was a bit of a hill in the back, so we had to do some extra work. But overall, when you drive up, you do not see the battery. You only see, just going back, you just see the charging stations like that.
Councilor
How far-
Rodnick speaking. You said something about the battery has to be connected to the grid through a building, like,
So we have two choices, Councillor Rodnick. We could go directly to the grid. No need to go into the building facility at all. We just basically take the power from the grid, and that way we're not connected to anything at all with regards to the building. However, in the case of some of these grocery store chains, they want us to take power from the facility, because then we have the ability to flow power back into the facility for resiliency purposes, for backup purposes, for peak shaving purposes, and all those other items. It's much simpler for us just to take the power directly from the grid, put up our own meter, and basically deal with the grid deal with the utility. But we have the ability to take power from the facility. The benefit of that to the facility is, in case power goes out, we can provide backup power to it, because we've already got a connection built with the facility. If we were to take power from the facility, Councillor Roderick, we would basically reimburse the facility for any power that is drawn as a sub-meter.
I'm going to go
Thank you.
back to Councilor Florent.
How far away would this battery substation be from the charging stations? How far can it be?
It basically adds cost of copper, right? Because you're running cables from the battery to the charging station. We would prefer it not to have too long runs of basically copper or wires runs to be there. So we'd like it to be as close as possible, but they do not have to be next to each other. The only limiting factor there, Council Chambers, is that how long of a wire, cost of laying the copper wire, basically.
I'm just trying to figure what kind of area we require. per
It's a 10
station.
feet. 10 feet by 10 feet is the size of the pad on which we would be putting the battery. So let me see if I can share a picture from, see if I can share a more realistic picture.
Well, I understand how big a parking spot is, but how many EVs and how many locations are you looking at?
So it would be up to the council to determine how many stations you would like us to put these at. I think we will take as many as we want, because you would provide us, because this is more of a province decision, right? We want to apply as many as possible. The province is going to decide how many they select of those applications that we put in. My feeling is that we're not going to get 100% of the applications we put in. They're going to basically pick and choose where they think are strategic locations where they would like to subsidize the placement of these charging stations. So it's in our best interest to put as many as we can potentially in there, so that our chances of getting some locations are higher.
well, your MOU basically states Jewel holds the right to determine the number of charging dispensers to be installed at each subject property,
Correct.
as opposed to us.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So, council, what determines is how much traffic do we think we're gonna get at a particular location. So the minimum we would put is 2, and the maximum we would put is 4. So it would be either 2, 3, or 4, depending on if when we get a good amount of data to see how many of those charging, how much traffic kind of goes through a particular area. And what we could do is we could start with 3, and then if we see a lot of traffic that is coming through, then it makes sense for us to increase it from 3 charges to 4. So when you're talking about the number of charges, the variation we're looking for is between 2 and 4. It's 2, 3, or 4.
Any
At
other members?
each location.
At
Any
each
other?
location.
Any other members of council, questions or concerns?
I have
Dr.
one.
Peter?
Hypothetically, say for instance, if we decided to put a charging station over by our fire hall here in Whitney, we don't have a backup generator system for the fire hall in Whitney, am I correct?
There's no place to put a charging station at the fire hall. You can't put a charging station where you're gonna have emergency vehicles parked.
Even if we wanted to put it over by where the sandbox is, for instance. In that yard there.
Well, I guess conceivably it could be over there.
So, but I'm throwing out an idea.
Hypothetically.
So now, since we don't have a backup generator system for our fire hall and our emergency services in that building, so we could get backup power from this battery, could we not?
Yes, Councillor, we can. And in fact, it would take a little bit more of alterations to the software to allow that to happen. But potentially, so just to give an example, in the Sudbury Science North exhibit, the Butterfly Conservatory, I think, has the ability to take, in the case of an outage of power, to take power from our battery that is installed over there to provide some backup power to the Butterfly Conservatory. This was done quite a few years ago, so I don't know if it is still working, but absolutely, that the intention in a lot of those grocery stores is that in the event of an outage, some of their critical items like the chiller or their tills, those continue to work. Obviously, in the case of the fire hall, we can provide that kind of backup power facility is capable. But just to let you know, the funding that is there from the Ontario government is only for the charging purposes. But the technology absolutely has the ability to provide that backup power. Councillor Chambers, I was trying to see the bird's eye view of the fire hall to see if there is an ability for us to kind of place a charging station or a battery, and we can put in an application, and once we do get accepted, we can definitely look into seeing where appropriate place could be.
Don't see any other.
I have a question. It's
Councillor
Councillor Collins here. You say the average charging cost would be about $10 per charge. And am I correct in assuming that your company, Joule, arranged for that payment to come from the credit card and it comes directly to you? We would see nothing of that costing. Am I correct?
That is correct, ma'am. There would be no, you would not be involved in that transaction between the consumer and Joule. So basically, the way it works is that just as there are certain places that require some sort of apps and stuff like that to be done, but in the case of Joule, that's not how we do it. You plug your, I'm just going to share with you again a screen so that I think the council is informed of how this charging works, but it basically looks something like this. So you go up to a pedestal, you see this HMI screen. The future is going to be like gold, silver, bronze, is how quickly do you want your car to be charged. You pay a premium for fast charging and less premium for this, and you basically tap your credit card and that's all that it takes. So there is no involvement of this is the credit card reader. You just tap your credit card or your Apple Pay or Google Pay, And that's basically how the payment processing works.
So are you going to need access to a reliable internet service at these charging stations?
Yeah, so
Or
what
is
we
it done
have,
electronically?
yeah, what we have is basically what we have is each of our stations and each of those NICs has a built-in SIM card, and so we use the cell phone coverage in order to
Okay, I
yeah.
understand. Yeah,
Yeah,
all right, thank you.
We don't, Counselor, we don't go through your internet. We have our own, each one of our boxes built in with its own telecommunication.
I understand, thank you.
Yeah. Because we, as I showed you, that live feed, we are like always monitoring what's happening with our stations. I think, Council, there is another important point that I would like to make, that I think it's important for the council to be informed as it makes its decision. There is a lot of thing about batteries and the concern about the batteries catching fire and things like that. And I think it's an important thing to discuss. The size of a battery is not very large. It's about a 220 kilowatt hour battery, which incidentally is actually the size of the battery that goes into a Hummer truck. The Hummer is around a 212 kilowatt hour. So that's how big a battery in a Hummer truck now coming out is. But what, if you noticed, our stations are installed within grocery stores, and in some cases, they're even installed underground parking lots or inside of the facility. That's because we have got a UL 9540A, which is a test that is done to see that in the event of a fire, the propagation does not happen because we've got a really good fire suppression system built into our box, such that in the event that there is a thermal runaway, the the fire suppression system kicks in and there's no fire that propagates out of it, which allows us, and we're unique in this, which allows us to put our batteries, although they're not large size batteries, smaller batteries that can be installed in public places. And that is unique about what we have created in a very safe, compact, and dependable manner.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? I have, I guess more of a comment. You started out, Mr. Sudan, by saying that the government, this is a 50% government project, that the government does 50%?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mayor, that's 50% to us. We're still covering 100% of the cost, so there's no cost to the municipality at all. So it's
Okay,
50% of cost of the project that comes back to us. So we're still funding the other 50%. That's why we're taking the revenue from the charging station to continue to pay off the capital costs.
Okay, that was my question. When you said 50%, I thought, okay, is this township now liable for 50% of that cost? So
No.
basically, we are providing the space for you to do this.
And you're earning.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. You're earning revenue from the parking spots that we're paying you for.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So MTO, if they approve the site, they'll give us 50% of the cost of installing the chargers, and then we're financing the other 50%, and the money we get from the revenue of the charging goes to, pay off our capital costs.
Councillor Rodnick.
What do you anticipate the capital cost to be per charging unit?
So the capital cost varies. It varies. In the case of urban areas, it's a little bit more expensive. In some of the extremely rural areas, it's also expensive. So it varies. But the compensation we're seeking from the province is $100,000 for each of the dispenser that we put in. So each dispenser's cost would approximately be $200,000. So if we are going to put two dispensers in there, the cost of that capital cost, including laying the wires, doing the installation, the battery, the charging station, is going to be $400,000.
Per
Okay,
unit?
Councillor Rodnick here. Who technically owns those chargers?
We
Because it's
do.
going on our property, correct?
Right. We own the charging stations, and what we are doing, in a sense, Councillor Rodnick, is leasing the parking spot from you. Otherwise, everything is owned by us because we are the owners of that charging station.
So if something were to happen per se, let's play devil's advocate with your company going into trouble,
Yes,
the charging station would be dismantled.
that's correct. And the good news with that, Councillor Rodnick, is it's basically forklift a 10-foot by 10-foot container, put it onto the back of a
Right.
pickup, not a pickup, a truck, and basically move it out.
Yeah, pretty easy to steal if somebody really wants to.
Yes, yes, it is. We have installed it in extremely remote locations like Temagami, Marwa, so kind of similar to where you are. It's at a Subway shop in Marwa, and at the grocery store in Temagami. We've been fortunate, that we don't want to be in a location where there is basically nobody there at all. We'll probably put it in a place where, people would want to use it.
It's Maryland Valley here. Have you done any studies in terms of the data or how many people are actually visiting, for example, Algonquin Park in the winter to look at, obviously you have to have done some homework here. If you think it's, South Algonquin is well situated, which I agree it is, but I just didn't know whether you had the ability to do any of the studies of what's going on in Algonquin Park. I know the summer is extremely busy.
I think, to be honest, Your Lordship, we're going to have very, very little usage during the winter months. And I think as the penetration or the number of electric vehicles increase over a period of time, we would then see a lot more cars operating at that point in time. I think our initial estimates are probably 1 or 2 car a day, if we're lucky, is what we would see in terms of initial uptake. However, as these stations become more apparent on a lot of driving routes, then what happens is EV users then rely on those locations, and then over a period of time, every quarter we see doubling of the utilization. This is just historically speaking. So initially, it's going to be very, very infrequently used.
Okay, thank you. Any other members of council have any questions, comments?
I'm very glad that you recognize that for now, at least, it'll be very limited use, because I'm trying to figure out
Yeah.
how it's
Gonna pay.
wise business decision to put these up, and I was more optimistic than you were. I figured 10 a day,
No.
and at 10 a day, it'd take you 10 years to get your money back.
Actually, if you have 10 charges a day, it's a significant revenue stream that comes out of it. Because you've got 10 charges a day is a pretty decent amount. The location that we shared on the screen with you was one of the ones that the average cost of the fill-up was much less. Because this is along the highway corridor, the fill-up amount is probably going to be closer to 15 or 16. So at that point in time, you're looking at $150 a day at 10 charges, and just doing a quick math, Councillor, that would be 150 times 365 is $54,000 a year. Now, that's a pretty good revenue stream on any expense that requires a $200,000 investment. I don't see 10 cars charging a day for a long period of time.
I know, but I'm projecting that as an average over the next 10 years.
Yes, I agree. Over the next 10 years, you're right. We will be in that situation where we would be at the 10 sessions a day. I think at that point in time, yes, it is a profitable At 10 sessions a day, it's a profitable location. It starts
Okay,
to, it starts to break more. It starts to break even kind of around the 6 to 8 sessions a day.
I don't think you're taking into consideration that you have to pay for the power that you're consuming as well.
You're right. The cost of power can be high because of the usage not being as high in those particular locations, Counselor. We have the ability to charge during off-peak, thereby reducing our cost of electricity to a lower amount. I don't know if the township of Algonquin has that um, time of use kind of thing that exists in some of the urban areas. But what is unique is that we're not paying any demand charges. The demand charge is much lower with our technology than with anything else. So the cost of power is indeed there. You're right. And our intent is that we have enough spread in there to be able to do it. As the counselor has pointed out, it's not a massively economically successful, which is why government assistance is required to even make this a possibility.
I just have a small question here. What is your predicted lifespan of that battery?
So the battery and charging stations, the batteries, the depends on battery life depends on basically two things. One is how well maintained the temperature of the battery is. If you're always driving in extreme cold temperature or extreme hot temperatures, the battery life gets reduced. The second thing is that determines the battery life is how much do you depth of discharge? Do you go 0 to 100, 100 to 0, 0 to 100, 100 to 0? If you do that kind of abuse to the battery, then the life gets shortened. However, in our case, we try to heat up the battery to keep it constantly heated up or cooled enough such that it maintains more or less room temperature. So the life of the battery is extended, as well as we don't discharge our battery to 100% when we are in there. So we basically maintain a life of about 15 to 20 years.
Thank you.
Chair, can I ask a question? If something happens that council decides to go with this, and down the road, we need to terminate that memorandum of understanding, is there consequences to the township for this?
So, ma'am, right now it's a non-binding MOU. That's the template that the council has, that the ministry has asked for. If the site gets selected, we would then get into a definitive agreement, and I think at that point in time we can come up with more, terms and conditions. I don't think that the province would have too much of an issue if, for example, the township selected the fire hall, and if the fire hall was not available because it was moved and we had to move it to another location or anything within there, I don't think they'll have an issue. But to answer your immediate question, it's not binding. After we are successful, then we will get into a definitive agreement. And I think at that point in time, the terms and conditions will dictate what it does.
So up till that point, we can walk away if we so desire.
Yes, sir. Both sides can.
One last question. So in terms of the township then, you're looking for us basically give you the space and authorization to go ahead. But, so John Doe comes up and wants to charge his or her vehicle, puts his MasterCard in, and that's how it gets charged. And then some of that revenue eventually comes back to the township?
Nope.
Or not, it just directly goes to Jewel.
Right, they'll lease the land, I think,
Yeah.
right?
We get revenue from parking as well.
Yeah, so it's the part, well, we get some revenue though eventually. Well, I understand you correctly.
That's correct.
Mayor, you get revenue right away because we're paying you for the parking spot.
Okay, I missed that. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
so
you.
that revenue starts right away. And this is for a period of years. MTO's asked for a period of 5 years so that we would, the township and Jewel would renegotiate, depending on how things are going and people visiting the park and charging, and we would renegotiate, and then there's an opportunity to obviously renegotiate.
Okay, so then just to confirm, you will get the revenue that John Doe puts in his credit card to charge, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And if
And-
there's
and
something
you-
wrong with the credit card or something like that, there's a number for them to call, they don't call us.
That's
Correct.
Okay.
And you get the revenue for the parking spot right away, and we're paying the electricity bill for that charging station, as we have put on a meter that records how much electricity we're using. So we pay that bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I
Sometimes-
understand correctly? You're estimating $100 a year for the leasing
month.
of the parking space,
Per month,
$100 per month
per parking space,
per
yes.
parking space.
and for the battery siting?
No, ma'am, I think it's included in that $100 of
Okay,
space.
all right, just
I
so
think
I'm clear.
Let's be honest. I think we're not as. I think the council was it Council Chambers that said. I think he was questioning our sanity in putting up the charging station over there and paying that
Okay.
amount of-
Thank you.
I have one final question, liability. Okay, so now that we are going to be, basically leasing you the area for the charging stations, if something was to happen, who was liable? When I say something to happen, say for instance, somebody slips and falls, gets hurt. That sort of instance, who's liable for that, us or you?
So because the equipment is owned by us, our liability insurance covers everything that relates to that particular that equipment and that installation. It's basically our liability that is going to cover any damages that happen to our equipment, unless we see that unless we see that someone from the council was in there, like, damaging the equipment, then obviously we'll be going after. But no, it's our equipment, and we are responsible for any insurance coverage that we have, because it's in our best interest to do that. After all, it's our asset, it's our funding that has gone into it.
No, that's not what my question was. It's personal liability. If somebody was to get hurt at this charging station, who is liable for that? Not your equipment, but the person.
The council, how the hurt is happening because of the usage of our equipment, then we would
No,
be
just-
responsible.
For instance, somebody stepped out of their vehicle and slipped and fell on, say for instance, today, it's icy out. Who's liable for that? Us or you?
Right. So if they are in our parking spot that we have leased, and if they fall in the parking spot that we have leased and they basically have fallen over there, then we're obviously going to be responsible for any damages that happen. But if supposing we take the example of the fire hall, we've got 2 parking spots, but there are 20 other parking spots. If they fall in any of the other 20 parking spots, then it's not our liability. It's basically going to be the fire hall's liability for that. But the spots that we have leased from you would be responsible for those.
Okay, thank you.
I have
Council-
one last question as
Council
well.
Florent. Yes, please, Council Florent.
You list 7 or 8 potential spots in our township for these charging stations. And I'm assuming you're making the application to the federal government, and you have to have a specific site in the application. Is that our choice, which ones you're allowed to put in the application for, or are you putting in an application for them all?
My answer would be that ultimate choice is yours. After all, you are the owners of these areas. Our recommendation would be, let's apply for as many as we can and let's see what we get.
I specifically don't want a charging station in a lot of these places because parking is at a premium as it is without, and some of these places aren't plowed in the wintertime. So that you're saying there's no cost to the township, but there obviously will be because we have to maintain the parking spot and plow the snow. And some of these locations, like I said, they're not even plowed in the wintertime.
If you let us know which ones would you prefer,
And some of them we don't own.
What's that, sorry?
Some of them we don't even own. We have a memorandum of understanding with the Ministry of Natural Resources, like a land use permit.
Well, this is where I think the council's, knowledge and the staff's knowledge kind of comes in. We obviously are not privy to those things, Councillor Florin. So you would have to determine where you think, from the township perspective, your citizens and those that use that corridor would benefit mostly from. And I think, unfortunately, we don't have that knowledge. You would. So you could probably tell us where it makes sense for us to kind of put those stations in. I think Lara from our team kind of worked on trying to come up with some places, but I think you would probably have better knowledge and your staff would have better knowledge as to which makes most sense, because we want to use those stations that the council thinks would benefit the citizens of its municipality as well as those that kind of commute through it.
Right.
Okay, so that's good. So we will probably have a list before we leave this table today.
That would be awesome.
And
Okay.
Counselor, just so you know, I spoke to Counselor Pigeon. He has the Word version of our client package and MOU, which is included in the PowerPoint that was sent to you. And he mentioned that, if you guys approve some sites, that staff would work on it today. The applications are due on Wednesday to MTO from our standpoint. So as soon as we can get information from each site and an MOU signed from you, the faster we can start our process to apply to MTO.
That's exactly why I said before we leave the table today.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay, any other questions or comments, concerns? I guess if we do, we can contact one of you. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And Counselor Pigeon has my cell phone number.
Okay. Okay, thank you very, very much for the presentation.
And for the short notice of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I understand some of it came across at 4 o'clock this morning.
It looked like you sent the documents this morning at 4 o'clock this morning, Lara. Did you?
I did.
I was impressed. You're up early.
We've been very busy, as you can imagine, and we also had the mayor of Toronto out yesterday to our facility. She was touring around the facility, and so it's been a busy week for us.
Well, enjoy your weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just want to thank the council members and the mayor for this opportunity. I think at the end of the day, just on a closing thing, this is a Ontario generated technology or Toronto generated Canadian technology. Would love for us to kind of actually put it in Canadian communities, and have Canadians own this infrastructure rather than others. So that's why we're kind of trying to put this up. I think Council Florin was probably right. There's not going to be much usage of it initially, but I think if we wait, it's a chicken and egg situation. If we wait to build the infrastructure when the cards are there, it might be too late. Let's build it up now that the opportunity is there. And we're hoping that we might be able to get additional funding from the federal government on top of the Ontario government to subsidize it further.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Would you like would you like us to leave the meeting now, or?
It's
So
in
now
order.
we're gonna have discussion, yeah.
Yes, please.
Are we going into,
Problem. Councillor Pigeon, if you wouldn't mind giving me a quick call just to let me know what the decision is.
Absolutely, I will, Larry. Oops, I'm looking
Thank
the
you.
wrong way. Yes, I will. Okay.
Thank you.
Nice to see you in person. Nice to see you in person.
Nice- nice-
Have a great
nice
day,
work.
guys, and have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
You as
Bye-bye.
well.
Take care.
Yeah, we're still on,
Yeah, we're still in open session.
on open session, we're on open session, so I don't know why they couldn't have stayed, to be honest.
They could.
Yeah, because we're in
So-
open session, because we have to put this on YouTube,
Mhm.
so.
Okay,
Anyway,
I think the right procedure would be to move that motion, number 8, and then discuss it, and in the discussion, we would come up with a location or potential location.
okay.
I don't think we can legally discuss it until the movement, the
Yeah,
motion is moved.
So we get the motion on the floor?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then I can pick these apart.
okay, so I would ask for a mover and a seconder for the resolution to proceed with the EV charge. Application form and MOE with e-camion included, Jewel. So, we'll put, if we have a mover and seconder, we put it on the floor, discuss it. This is the only thing I want to advise council, in terms of talking to, Tracy this morning, is if this gets defeated, if this motion gets defeated, it can't be brought back based on our rules and regulations for 2 years. Okay. So with that, I will entertain a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councilor Pigeon, seconded by
Second.
Councilor Kuyak.
The council for the corporation, of the township of South Algonquin, directs staff to proceed with the EV charge on no-cost hosting program candidate application form and memorandum of understanding with Camion Inc., also known as Jewel.
Okay, it's been duly moved and seconded. I'll open the floor for discussion.
Okay.
Councilor Florence.
I'm usually the most vocal on these things. I'm not against, I wouldn't be voting against this motion. But I think we have to come up with definite locations that are acceptable to council, not to Jules. There are 2 or 3 potential locations in Whitney that I wouldn't have a problem with. Most of these at Madawaska, I do have a problem with because some of the parking lot at the Madawaska complex is on a land use permit at the front, and behind is emergency vehicles, so you certainly cannot park there or put charging stations there. Possibly over at the side of the Mervyn Dupuy brick building in Madawaska would be a potential location, one that I could certainly live with. Tom and McMurray Park is just, to me, ridiculous because it's like a kilometer from the nearest power source. It's not plowed in the winter at all. J.R. Booth Park is too congested now. There's not enough parking spots, so you can't give up a couple of parking spots and reserve, especially at the start, for one that may be used once a week or something like that. I acknowledge that 10 years down the road, there will be a lot more EVs on the road than there is today. In Whitney, the location that you mentioned, Councillor Pijot, where the municipally owned property between the post office and the fire hall has potential. Especially if it's like one side or the other, it wouldn't really bother me which side it was, but we still need access in the center because sometimes we store equipment and material and culverts in that location. I think another location in Whitney that makes sense to me is where the gazebo is at the Memorial Park in the middle of town. There's been talk that the gazebo is outdated and needs to be replaced or torn down. If it's going to be removed anyway, potentially it could be used for a charging station. It's kind of out of the way, doesn't interfere with the other parking.
The only thing is of that land use too is in a lease land.
I think we are.
It's the park that the walking trail below it. No, we even own that, yeah.
Yes, we
Yeah,
own
we
that.
own that too, yeah.
Like at the beach down here, again, it's not open in the winter time. There's no access in the winter time. They even have that location in Madawaska. So, It's not in Madawaska, obviously. Out front here, it's kind of congested already when there's a function going on, like to give up a couple of spots. It's,
And you want to think of where the people would go if it's taking, you know, up to an hour. And if they have access to, I did quickly look at their, it wasn't so much their, application, I think. It just asked if there was bathrooms, walk-through access.
yeah.
You know, was there, you know, any place else that they could go, whether food, beverage, retail, etc. So,
Yeah, that was all part of the MOU,
yeah.
the application.
That's about all the input I have. So, you know, if council can come up with suitable locations, I'm prepared to vote in favor of it.
I like the idea of it being at that memorial park, but it's got a big imprint, footprint, right? And you would be now taking a park and putting some, electronic, you know, because you're gonna have that huge battery pack along with the other.
And plus the site itself, 10 by 10.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a small space as it is. So whether or not the fire,
So then it'd be 3 vehicle charging stations as well too, so you gotta.
Yes, you have to remember
so
that.
1, 2, 3, and so then let's basically count that as 4
yeah.
parking spots.
So definitely over at the fire hall would be or the Lester Smith.
Yeah, I don't think you need both.
No,
Potentially, you need an area the size of this room,
Pretty much.
if you access it from this.
The ideal property doesn't belong to us, unfortunately.
which
The Grid,
is.
the gas station just outside of town.
Well, it should have been up to them to apply for this and nobody did. So,
Yeah.
Bill, I reached out to, Barney. And I was asking Barney if anybody from Saba had got onto this bandwagon and made an application for this grant. And he said, no.
Okay.
So myself personally, I was thinking, you know what, maybe the motels and all that they should have been getting onto this program, right? But apparently it's not cost effective for them. It's gonna cost them too much money. And then he suggested that it wouldn't be in the best interest of the township to do so.
But I
So,
wonder if they know about this particular.
They don't.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. They don't know about this particular, I mean, we didn't know, right?
No.
Yes, this came across council about 2 months ago, about the grant application.
The grant.
Yeah.
Grant,
Not through.
but not.
Not through
Jules.
Jules,
Yeah.
no, but Jules is probably only for public. I don't, it's possible that they're applying through private as well.
Yeah.
But the application that we became aware of a couple of months ago was for either.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised that someplace like Mad Musher wouldn't have went for it, because they used to have gas pumps over the front, like it's not a stretch to
Mhm.
have a charging station out
Yeah.
front.
Well, obviously that's up to them and they
Oh,
make a
absolutely.
decision if they know about it, so.
the reason why I found out about this was because Carlo Mayo got on the bandwagon. And that's how I got this whole motion and process.
Yeah.
Cause I reached out to Sabrina Anderson.
Yeah.
And she put me in contact with Joel.
Mhm.
And this is, now we sit here today having this
I
discussion.
think it's a great idea to move forward with it. It would be just location. And I guess it would be up to them to determine how many and how many locations.
Yeah.
How many charging
Yeah.
stations and how many locations. It's not up to us. We can give them a couple locations and say, here's where we feel is the best fit. But then after that, it's up to them to determine the rest, right?
And I'm not sure, maybe, you know, is we have to make one application for each of these places? Or is it one?
My understanding is just go with that,
The one, the
that
one,
one
for each
application. I
one.
think it says on there to put, where is your location?
Where is the
Yeah.
locations, okay.
Uh,
Okay,
So,
Unfortunately, in Madawaska, we don't have somewhere where people can go and eat, but we do have a library and we will, fingers crossed, have a walking trail. And there is the outdoor rink and pickleball, etc. So I think the only location that we have that's viable in Madawaska is to be at the Mervyn Dupuy center because we don't own the front of the community center. Is that right? That's on an MOU. So
Yeah.
it would have to be at that central location there somewhere. With regards to Whitney, I think it needs to be somewhere as central as possible. My fear is if it's at the Memorial Park, it's detracting from the nature of the park, and I would prefer to see it in the land to the side of the post office if it was my choice. And then people have a grocery store walking distance. They have a couple of places to eat. I mean, they can't access the library. That's a bit of a walk for them. But there's the LCBO there and obviously the community centre as well. So I don't really think we've got lots of choices of positioning. At Madawaska, I can only see one place. Maybe there's a couple in Whitney, but Madawaska, I think we are very limited where we could allow them to do this. And I think it's a brilliant idea. I don't know that it's going to be used very much, but that's not really, we're putting things in position for the future. And I think we need to be fully aware of this. We're doing this for the future of our township.
And the price seems to be right.
Yes.
I think,
And I think that's why we sort of turned it down. The whole grant application was because it was going to cost us substantial money. So this is almost like too good to be true. but
Yeah.
We should move forward with it.
And the news will
Kind of
travel
scary.
the news will travel fast with the tourists, knowing that we provide that one little service here.
And will be placed on a map that they all use so that they know
Right.
how far they can get.
We will be a destination.
Yeah.
And the other thing about Madawaska, we gotta remember too, that that is the corridor for another entry into Algonquin Park as well, too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
to the
Mhm.
chalet.
And
Shall I-
a positive thing about the two locations that we're talking about, the one in Whitney and the one in Madawaska, is that we already plow the snow there.
Yes.
So it wouldn't be much additional cost.
Yeah.
So I think at the end, we probably would not have as many of these locations. We wouldn't.
No.
No, I think
No.
we only would give them the two
Two.
locations, one in each
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
village.
I think if by putting multiple applications in, you just muddy the water.
well, I think from their point of view, that they're hoping to put as many applications in as possible, hoping that one or two will get approved.
So even the ones that we know are not gonna get approved, let them go ahead and make the application for it, because we know it's not gonna happen.
And if you look at the letter of understanding or memorandum of understanding, we are not obligated in any way if the grant is not successful. So again, that's,
Yeah.
Very important,
yes.
very important.
Yeah.
So, but I think from a standpoint, from a provincial standpoint, this is a no-brainer.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Really, this is a no-brainer because it's going to help with traffic in the park as well too, not only just the corridor of Highway 60, correct? Right, so,
I guess my only other question would be, is the ministry looking at putting any of these stations in? Right, because they have, some of the campgrounds that have electric sites, right? So
I'm sure that it would be on their radar at least,
it should be, if not,
but there are no gas stations in Algonquin Park anymore,
no.
so who knows?
And we don't know what's on the other side of the park. I'm assuming some of the gas stations would have electric vehicles.
I think Huntsville put in a couple.
I think
So
so.
I don't think there's any, maybe
Dwight,
down by
anyway.
Dwight,
No,
but
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so.
anything.
There is.
Okay, so any other members of council want to say anything?
Did we lose Sandra?
Bill or Sandra?
No, I just, the presentation was good. I like the fact that he wasn't too optimistic with his projections, not trying to,
Yeah.
Snow was saying he's gonna get 50 cars a day or something, so.
Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah, it doesn't make much business sense to me, like I wouldn't invest $200,000 for charging station in, because I'm not gonna live long enough to get my money back.
Yeah,
I think we're looking at futures here. I don't think we're looking at the next 5 years. I think we're looking at futures. And I think they're being very smart. They're trying to spread across as many places as possible to mitigate the up costs, so to speak. But I think they're looking at futures. And I think we can benefit from this, most definitely.
Yeah, it's
You
more of
might
a-
find it's our residents that end up using it and not even tourists.
I was
That's
just
good
gonna
for
bring
them
that
too.
up. I think it would be probably cheaper to go plug it in and get charged up there than trying to do it at home.
yeah,
You know, if it's, $10, $15.
yeah. I guess my only caution would be that, I don't know whether at the time or not, that this should be kind of looked at by our lawyer,
By our what?
our lawyers.
I think,
I don't think there's enough time.
well, let's back up a little bit here. So if this grant application gets approved, and then we get into the discussions with them about how we're gonna do things, right? That's when we're gonna have to get our lawyer involved. At that
Yeah, I
point.
That's right.
Yeah,
Before we sign on the dotted line with Jewel, this is when we get our lawyer involved to make sure that everything is gonna be on the up and up
Yeah, signing today just gives them permission to apply for the grant.
for the grant,
Yeah.
which we don't have time for, and
And we
they know
might-
how to do it, so.
okay, so long as council's comfortable with everything we're going to do here today.
So just so I'm clear, the two, it would be the Mervyn Dupuy building and the, beside the fire hall, would be the two locations.
Well, actually, when I say the Mervyn Dupuy building, I mean across the parking lot from the Mervyn Dupuy building, because you can't put it under the drip of the building.
In that area.
Yeah, there is a pole gazebo type building over there that's starting to look a little bit derelict, and that's the location I'm thinking.
Okay, yeah, I know.
It's directly across the parking lot from the Mervyn Dupuy building, and there's hydro access within 50 meters or so.
And the, one at the rink would be basically on the other side of the sandbox. Against the fence.
Yes.
Yes,
We'd have to make sure it's far enough, because it's busy down there. There was a lineup down there for people wanting sand yesterday, so it is a spot that gets used a lot in the time.
We can always move that sandbox too,
Oh my
right?
very important part of Whitney, I'll tell you. Stephen was around yesterday making sure that there was sand in it.
Yeah, it was emptied.
I
I did
heard.
twice yesterday morning, that I know of.
I got a
Emptied
phone
at
call-
10 o'clock in the morning,
I had a phone call at 10 after 7 yesterday morning
looking for sand.
from Harry Scott,
Oh,
because our truck broke down.
oh,
And, so it was parked in his yard for a couple of days till we got parts. So instead of us paying to have the truck towed back to Madawaska, we left it at Harry's place.
he was
So he
okay
called me,
with
says, well, since I did that for you guys, can you do me a favor?
that. Get me some sand.
So
We're still online.
we are, thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah,
But anyhow, it was just that he did us a favor, so we just
Yeah.
returned that favor as well too, so we paid back.
but
That's what I'm getting at.
It's not lost on me that this is a huge boost. If we get EV charging stations in South Algonquin, it's a huge boost to our tourist operators.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
it certainly is.
People out of the park,
Yeah.
maybe to go shopping, go get.
Yeah.
Food at a restaurant.
And again, they're not gonna have a big take up at the start. This is gonna be a working process, in progress, I feel. But, yeah, I think that we should pursue it and, why don't you basically, the township might, based on everything I've heard and talked about, and it's a win-win for us.
So going forward, then we just need to,
We need a bylaw,
Pass
we need a
something?
resolution, we need to pass a resolution, and we need to do a bylaw,
Just a confirming bylaw.
a confirmed bylaw.
Yeah, for now, and then once we get into the, once we're accepted and move into the next step, that's when we'll get the lawyers to look at it, and then we get a bylaw that the township is going to.
Say no.
Hello,
Sounds like Councilor Rodman. Okay, so I think I know where to go from here, and we'll do the ring building, the Mervyn Dupuy area. with the memorandum of understanding, we'll get that to, Lara.
Okay,
That's if it goes through here.
okay, if it gets back to you, then Tracy will set up the whole process to get it done.
Wonderful.
And you will let
Lara, no?
if it passes. No, it hasn't passed yet. Any other discussion, Sandra or Bill?
No, quite happy.
I'm more than happy for this to go ahead. I think we will be looked upon with glowing eyes for the future.
Well, thank you.
We'll make the paper.
Again. Okay, so it's been duly moved and seconded. We've had discussion. Can I call the vote? Okay, I see no other speakers calling on the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Is anyone opposed? It's duly carried. Okay, so now we need to do proceedings of this council.
The confirmed time.
So I need to confirm the proceedings of this meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Been moved by Council Florence, seconded by Council Pijot.
That bylaw 2024-780, confirm the proceedings of council be read a first time and deemed read a second time.
Been duly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Councilor Rodnick, Councilor Collins? No. I see none. On that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, I need a mover and a seconder to that bylaw 2024-78 be confirmed. The proceedings of council be read a third time and passed. I can move to Councilor side off, Councilor
Rodnick,
Rod. Okay,
That council, or that bylaw 2024-780 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council be read a third time and passed.
okay, duly moved and seconded. Any other discussion? See or hear none?
I
All
want
in
to
favor?
thank the mayor, and I want to thank.
Better vote on it first.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, Councilor Pijot?
I want to thank the mayor and all the council for this meeting today. It's unusual, but I think it was productive. So thank you again.
Well, thank you for bringing it to our attention and being diligent about getting things done. I much appreciate it. And I hope it all works out for us.
Oh, and I forgot, and Tracy as well too.
Yeah.
I want to thank Tracy and staff.
Brian's away.
Deputy.
And staff.
Deputy.
good job.
Okay,
Great.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
okay.
I second it.
Second with Council Rodnick.
The council for the corporation of the township of South Algonquin adjourns a special council meeting of January 26, 2024 at 7:13 or 10:13 a.m.
Been duly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor?